Jim Manley.
You.
Thank you. For Nate's trial, I had the best seat in the courtroom. And I remember thinking, while he was trying that case, that I think MTLA is in pretty good hands. So congratulations. I'm here to award the Career Achievement Award for Tom Beers. Al says these things are always going too long, so I'm going to limit this to like 30, 35 minutes for my introduction. And for us old guys, we get up here and we don't want to leave because the people who made this nomination with me, we've been fighting these battles for some of us 30, 40 years together. Most of us were lone wolves, and the only way we survived, it's like Randy Bishop has said a number of times, we felt like we're in a law firm with 500 members. And we helped each other. We've lost some, we've won some, but what we've learned as the time has gone by, that what's most important, it isn't just the verdicts we got, the successes, but it's the friendships that we made. And I can say the best people I know and the best friends that I've had are the people I've known through this organization. And so I didn't make this nomination myself. There were a few of us gray hairs sitting around, and there were 9 of us that made this nomination, and I'd like to ask them to come up with me because I think that it's an indication of the kind of trial lawyer and the kind of person that Tom is when you see the quality of the people that nominated him. So Larry Anderson, would you come up over here? And Judge Best, and Professor Bishop, and Judge Eddy, and I guess Gene Gerussi and Mike Malloy aren't here. Dean Greg Monroe, and Justice Terry Treeweiler. So they made me write the letter just because I've known Tom since high school, but this is really from all of us. These are great trial lawyers, all of them, and there are many great trial lawyers here. But what we decided after talking about it, that there are also some great human beings here. And of the great trial lawyers we know, the best human being we know is Tom Beers. Tom graduated in 1973 from this law school when I think that's all there was to it. And he immediately went to the AG's office, and that was in the days when he argued every case to the Supreme Court, and he argued 100 cases and he won 98 of them. And then they told him that, well, he's going to be in charge of the worker comp scandal prosecutions. And they had charged all these trial lawyers across the state with fraud and worker comp violations. They brought in these hotshot lawyers from California, and Tom was supposed to be in charge of them. We could hold this whole seminar on what went on in those, but for instance, it got crazy. The AG accused like 6 trial lawyers of forming a conspiracy to kill the AG. He had a helicopter flying around his house at night, and they were charging guys that they knew the statute of limitations had run on. Terry defended one of them. During the trial, his client goes down with a heart attack like this. He had to be carried out of the courtroom on a gurney, and he's like this, and Terry thought, my client's dying. And as they push the gurney by Terry, he looks over at Terry like this, he goes, but it was a different era, and they were colorful guys. So pretty soon, Tom won't let me tell you some of the stuff went on, but pretty soon he couldn't tell the good guys from the bad guys, so he quit. He came to Missoula. They made him the head of the criminal department at the at the county attorney's office, he was with Dusty Deshawn. The people that served under him were people like Ed McLean. Karen Townsend was his law clerk, I think. I think was Denny Lynn there then? Who else? Yeah, I'm missing some. Mark Roscoe. Yeah, Mike Shastad. So then they decided the AG's office, they had a new AG, and they're going to create a new organization in the AG's office that's going to go around and help all these counties. So they asked Tom to be the head of it. He turned it down, and so they gave it to the number 2 guy, Mark Roscoe, who then used that to prosecute the mountain men and go on to all the rest. I'm not going to talk a lot about his career, but when he went into private practice, I don't know how many trials he's tried. Everybody knew Tom wasn't afraid to try a case. He, as an appellate lawyer, established some of the law that all of you and your clients are benefiting. The old Post case is the one that destroyed the attempt to unravel joint and several liability. In the Newman and Pablo case, he was involved in creating insurance law that, whether you know it or not, you all benefit from. And what set Tom apart, I think, from all of us was that he recognized that being a trial lawyer is a gift. And it's not just about you, it's not even just about your client, as important as they are, but it's a gift to do great things for a lot of people. And so in case after case after case, he looked at the bigger picture. He represented a kid who had a bad brain injury. He went over to talk to the neurosurgeon in Seattle, got all the protocols, brought him back here, and with the help of MTLA members Anders Blewett and Jim Hunt, they were responsible for now passing the protocols so that if any high school athlete gets a concussion, they can't be sent in until a neurologist passes the tests. He had a child who fell out of a third-story window. Jasmine's brother, actually, and her family a couple of years ago was named the Citizens of the Year. But the child, we all grew up thinking screens aren't going to break out. The screens they put into windows today break out. And so this little 2 or 3-year-old boy was playing at the babysitter's on top of a chest of drawers. He falls 3 stories, and he's a miracle child because he lost half his brain. And everybody thought he will never be able to do anything, and boy, were they wrong. He's doing a lot of stuff. He's made Jasmine's life complicated at times, but he's a good, healthy, happy boy. But Tom didn't quit on that case. He got a really good result for the case, but he didn't quit until the International Building Code standards were actually changed because of that case, so that all windows above 12 stories or 12 feet now have to have child safety protections. He represented a truck driver, or a number of truck drivers, who were being screwed out of the money that they were supposed to get paid. And it was an 11-year case. He eventually got a $16 million verdict, but he wouldn't quit until he got a federal cease and desist order so that these trucking companies can't do that to him anymore. I think, though, the one that sets him apart from probably all of us, about a few years back, a bunch of us, 6 of us here, filed a lawsuit on behalf of Montana children in the Montana Supreme Court to establish a principle that the environment, the atmosphere, is held in trust for our future generations. And that's a lawsuit that was filed in all 50 states on the same day and in federal court. And we weren't successful. And then it took a great toll on us. I think I speak for all of us. And because of what we learned about climate change. And but all of us went back to our lives. One by one, we went back to our lives. There was also a federal case. Tom stayed on the federal case. He was one of 3 lead lawyers on the federal case, which finally has achieved success in Oregon. All the rest of them are getting thrown out, but the federal case is still alive and well. It's in federal district court in Oregon. It's survived 2 trips up to the Ninth Circuit, and Sid Thomas, the former Montana trial lawyer, wrote the decision, I think, didn't he, on the last one? And so that's going to trial this fall, and the idea is that the atmosphere, like the water, like wild game, like a lot of things, aren't owned by us to be used and destroyed, that we hold them in trust for future generations. And if it is successful, it could have enormous impact on American law and on climate change. So he's the only one that's still doing it of most of us. So we're proud of Tom. Larry Anderson wrote this, so let me close with this. Larry said, Tom's biggest career achievement is that he did not allow the law to consume him. He expertly crafted walking sticks, beer, bread, dinners, wine, tables, chairs, decks for the handicapped, wood beams, window frames with child safety protections, and cabins. But mostly he crafted friendships and experiences, and he was the best husband, father, grandfather, and friend that anyone could be blessed to have. And I've known Tom since high school. So it's time for Tom to come up, but I got to tell you one last thing. I would be dishonest if I didn't tell you that Tom also has some real odd qualities. And I've traveled from New York to San Francisco and outside the country with him, and one of his oddest qualities is he does flash group hugs. And so there'll be taxi cab drivers and bellhops and strangers in elevators, and he will just go up to them and he'll take me or whoever he's got and he'd say group hug, and then they start grouping. And pretty soon, if you stay, after a while, we were staying in Bethesda, Maryland, there was some concierge and he could barely speak English, and we would start approaching the lobby and he would yell group hug, and he was coming to us. So because we never know how many times we're all going to be together, I thought that this would be a good time for the Tom Beers group hug of all time. And so anybody, we have the whole Beers clan down here. If you want to come up and join us in the Tom Beers group hug, come up. McKenna, I know you want to. Wheat, come on up here. McKenna, Wheat, come on up here. Come on. You know you want to. So Tom Beers, Career Achievement Award. Come on up for the group hug, Tom. Come on, Jimbo. Bring it in. Come on, bring it in. All right. Tom. I like these dips.
I want one of those.
Oh, yeah, yes. Hey. Oh, thanks, Danny. Yeah. Oh, boy. You know, it's hard to say much with that. You know, I need to tell you that Dennis Lind and I graduated from law school together 45 years ago. And everybody has talked about their spouse. Well, I need to talk about my spouse. We will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary this December. So, thank you very much. You know, this is truly humbling. It's just hard to think of what to say. I remember when Greg was up here and he had a hard time speaking as well. Like my family sitting here, this organization to me is family. It is truly family. All of my best friends are part of this organization. You know, to me, and others have talked about this, but to me, what makes this organization unique is we are a group with identical goals. You know, as I was sitting in the seminar today, I just kept thinking about everybody who's been an influence on me, and so many of you have been an influence on what makes me who I am as a person, who I am as an attorney, and I quite frankly can't thank everybody, but there's some very special people who have been my friends for a long, long time. So, I ended up writing this out because I need to do that, okay? And most good trial attorneys like Manley can stand up here and just say what they need to say, but I don't want to fuck this up. So, you know, we're a group with identical goals. It isn't just using the skills we have learned to win. What is important is, quite frankly, what underlies our drive. We act as a team. We care about each other. More importantly, we care about others. We push boundaries to make a difference. We strive to level the playing field for those that don't have the means to do it themselves. Though we didn't change our name of our organization many years ago, we are indeed the group whose attorney's goal is to seek justice. If there were ever an award that I would strive for, receiving an award for career achievements is what I would want. To get it from this organization in light of what I believe membership in this organization means is an honor indeed. And I thank you so, so much. There was only one other such honor that I received that touched me as much. For the most part, only I and the person who gave me that honor know about it or are aware. I'm going to tell you about it in just a couple of minutes. But, you know, this award truly isn't about me. It's about so many of you that over this 45 years has instilled in me the spirit of what we are really all about. Attorneys of the people. That's who we are. To me, many of the cases we do are quite frankly cause cases in which we are able to call out and attempt to remedy injustices that often go well beyond the recovery of our own client. We build the framework for the creation of laws and precedent that help better the masses. Usually the masses have no idea of the work we have done in order to help them. That said, I just feel compelled to mention a few of you, my comrades in action, who have become my dear friends, but have had tremendously huge impacts on me and what I believe Montana trial lawyers are all about. It's not just the skill set, in other words, how we do it, it is why we do it. And I start with my friend, Justice Terry Trewiler. In my mind, the best and most influential justice to ever sit on the bench. Not just because of the opinions he wrote, but because of his strength of character, the tenacity, and quite frankly, the guts to lead the law to places it needed to go. Those were character traits I wanted. I wanted to work on and attempt to achieve. Terry was the voice for the little guy, for the environment, and for me, has always been a major voice for justice. Thanks, Terry. Of more recent time, Justice Wheat, in my mind, followed that same strength of character on the bench. But for me, Mike was a no bullshit advocate. And when someone tried to pull something on him, when he was trying cases, it ended right then and it ended right now. No crap tactic of defense counsel taught to muddy the waters was going to curtail his quest for justice. Couple of stories, I'm not going to tell them right now, but Mike and I have talked over the years about them. And I learned from Mike, and I thank you, Mike. Randy and Gene, I wish Gene was here. Well, what do I say? If there were ever a team extraordinaire, they were it. They have more trial skills, more power of persuasion, and through the years, in my mind, have done more to make this organization what it is than most of us. Except, of course, Mary and Al sitting here. Randy and Gene both supposedly retired. But they remain hard at it. Now, Professor Bishop teaches not only how, but instills in his students the why. We do what we do. And the student MTLA, whatever that is called, has never seen so many people involved in so many years than what Randy has allowed it to become. And then there's Sundance's own dark money rock star, Gene Gerussi. You know, if you haven't seen the film, you're really missing out, and you need to do that because he has done so much to better who we are. What an accomplishment. Voices for the little people. Leave it right there. All right, Judge Beth Best. Where is Beth? Oh, she's over here. Well, let me tell you. You know, Beth, you've always reminded me of my sister growing up. First, you, like she, has a heart of gold. And justice, quite frankly, is part of your DNA. It runs in your blood. As an advocate, and I've tried cases, she was tough as nails. She didn't know the concept of giving up, quite frankly. And I learned from that. In her pursuit of justice, she was always full in. And I learned that's what you have to be if you want to be a good trial lawyer. These are all people who I've gotten to know through the years, and God, we drank a lot of booze together. You know, so I'm going to go to Larry Anderson. Larry. Well, what a joy to be around. Mild-mannered Tennessean who, quite frankly, is the smartest fella I have ever met. But don't get him fired up, because Larry becomes somebody that you don't even know. Isn't that right, Larry? Anyway, how many of you know that Larry was a champion pole vaulter in high school? There you go. You know, isn't that amazing? And anyway, I'm not going to say this, but Larry, in a lapse of judgment, invited Jim and I to a dinner with his high school teammates. And at that dinner, we learned that Larry's moniker in high school was Speedy Anderson. Now, I say this all in jest because I quite frankly, I don't know how many cases I have discussed with Larry searching for that one legal gem that may make an argument work. In our national climate change case, I called Larry when our team with all these great lawyers couldn't think of a good constitutional argument to present to the federal court in Washington, D.C. on an element of our case. I said, Larry. So I explained to him what the situation was, and I said, what do you think, Larry? And he says, well, Tom. And I want to say, he said, you got to change the paradigm, but I'm not going to say that. He said, well, Tom, have you considered Marbury versus Madison? And have you read the Federalist Papers? You know, I think it's number 72. And I'm telling you, Larry Anderson knows more law than anybody I have ever met or will probably ever meet. And the important aspect of that answer is exactly what we needed. And though we lost that case in federal court in D.C., it was the basis of our appeal to the D.C. Circuit on that case was what Larry gave me. So Larry, thank you very much. You have been instrumental in who I am. I learned. Then there's our dean, my good friend, Greg Monroe. And you haven't spoken yet, have you? Okay, he's speaking tomorrow. So I'm gonna say something now. He got this same award just a couple of years ago, or was it last year? You know, at my age, you start losing your mind a little bit. Last year? Okay, well, anyway, so many nice things were said. Well, Greg and I have been friends forever and ever and ever. And he has helped me so much with so many things. But not only in terms of what Randy said about Greg last year and what he has done for this association and continues to do. I think the important thing, or another thing that he has done, is Greg has just written a book. And it's a book for all lawyers. And I'm not going to spill the beans. I'm going to let Greg's going to talk about it tomorrow, I hope. And it's going to be published here real soon by Trial Trends. So we're talking, you know, top notch.
Trial guides.
What is it?
Trial guides.
Trial guides. I'm sorry. Yeah, trial guides. And anyway, you better be standing in line to get a signed copy because that's who he is, and we're so proud of Greg, and I've learned so much from him. Okay, I'm almost done, Al. Okay, but I'll blast. Okay, Judge Amy Eddy. You know, she's the youngest of our tribe, but she is powerful. And, you know, I want to say so much about so many people, but even though Jim said there were 6 of us, we actually started out with 10 trial lawyers who met in Helena to do our first attempt at climate change in the Montana Supreme Court. But it was Randy and Amy who did the laboring oar, I'll say, on putting together that case. And it was the first climate case that we brought. Of all the 50 cases, we brought one in every state, and we brought a national one. But we all agreed at a national level that Montana had the best chance of getting something accomplished because of what we already had existing in Montana. And so they were the people who were the primary ones putting that together. And quite frankly, it was bulletproof, theoretically. But the powers to be felt we needed to do more work. So we didn't win that case, and all I can say is it was outstanding work, and so I so appreciate the work that both Amy and Randy did, and what a team they are. Anyway, and Mike Malloy isn't here, but he's another good friend that, what would the Democratic Party do without Mike Malloy? You know, really. I mean, he does so much work for them. So there are many more that I'd like to talk about, but I'm already using up my time, and I still have some things to say. I hope you'll bear with me. That makes this organization of advocates so worthwhile. And I apologize, quite frankly, to those who I have not mentioned. And it's just simply hard over 45 years to think who all have been such an impact on me. And if I've missed you, I apologize, but I need to go on. So we go to Judge Jim Manley. Jim, you better say, oh. Not really. You know, Jim and I, as he said, we go back to high school days when we clearly did more bad than we did good. And I didn't really get to know Jim that well until we started lawyering together. We've tried a bunch of cases together. We settled a bunch of cases. And more importantly, we've discussed a bunch of cases over a bottle of Jameson's. And Jim's an exceptional friend. Not only a great lawyer, but he's my best buddy. And, you know, Anthony, you had talked about your background well, and you'll probably be pissed if I tell about that, but Jim and I are both from welfare-type families. Jim lived in a car for a part of his younger days. And so we come from similar backgrounds, and that's only being said because I suspect it is those backgrounds that help to drive us to be the voices for the people that we hope to be. He has had more influence on my life, quite frankly not all good, than any other lawyer and very few other persons. If you don't know Jim, he's a walking encyclopedia. He knows more about everything than anybody I know. He's the most well-read person you will ever meet. He's unbelievably witty and the greatest storyteller around, as you might have thought from his remarks about me. Some years ago, Jim gave me a list of quotes by an author by the name of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I don't know how many of you know that author, but Jim explained that he was in final stages of terminal cancer and was writing this goodbye letter to his friends. Jim said Marquez was probably the greatest living writer on the planet, which I'm telling you, Jim would know. They are words of wisdom that Marquez called words for the soul. Well, when I got those, I quite frankly, I framed them and I put them above my desk. And I often looked at them. They're still above my desk. It's now in my home, but it's above my desk. And I often look at those quotes. And I try to think about them. And I would like to leave you with at least some of those quotes. Maybe they will help you in your life's journey as they have helped me, because there's more to life than just what we do. You know, the older we get, the more reflective we are. So anyway, let me just read these things, and I hope you appreciate them. He wrote to his friends, "If for an instant God forgot that I am just a puppet, and he gave me one more piece of life, I would take advantage of that time the best I could. I would probably not say everything I think, but definitely think all I say. I would value things not for what they are worth, but for what they represent. I would sleep less and dream more. For every minute we close our eyes, we lose 60 seconds of light. I would continue where others have stopped, and I would rise when others sleep. I would prove to men how wrong they are to think that they stop falling in love as they get older, since you actually start getting older as soon as you stop falling in love. So many things I have learned from you, he told his friends. I have learned that everybody wants to live at the top of the mountain, forgetting that it is how we climb is all that matters. I have learned that a man has the right to look down on somebody, but only when he is helping him to get up. Always tell what you feel and do what you think. If I would know that these would be the last minutes that I will see you, I would say to you, I love you, and wouldn't assume that you already know it. There is always morning where life gives us another opportunity to make things good. Keep always close to you, your dear ones, and tell them how much you need them and love and take care of them. Take time to say, I am sorry, forgive me, please, thank you, and all the nice and lovely words you know. Nobody would remember you if you keep your thoughts secret. Force yourself to express them. Show your friends and dear ones how much you care about them. Now, when Jim sent me this letter, he wrote a little note on the top of it. And I told you there was another honor given to me that meant so much. When he gave me this note, Jim wrote, Tom, Gabriel Garcia Marquez is probably the greatest living writer on the planet. He is a novelist who writes like a poet. He is in the final stages of terminal cancer, and he wrote this goodbye letter to his friends. There's one part that reminded me of you. I have learned that a man has the right to look down on somebody only when he is helping him to get up. That's you. Signed, Jim. You know, I think that's what being a trial lawyer is all about. I love you all for what you do. Thank you.